Oh, wait a second. Hold on. Hold on. Let
Oh,
me
I
bring up.
already pushed live.
That's okay.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Warren Redlick. I'm here with Alex from E for Electric. We are going to talk about electric vehicles. We're going to talk about Tesla. Alex made a video a couple weeks ago, and I criticized it about a week ago in my own video. And Alex, to his credit, because I was pretty hard on him, to his credit, Alex said, "Hey, Warren, I want to come on your channel and talk about this." So I have some questions for Alex, but Alex had some things he wanted to explain before I get into my questions. So, and before we get started, just really quick, I criticized Alex for being sponsored by Xpeng. I want to thank my Patreon supporters, and in particular, the Vasa Law Firm from Sweden, which is one of my biggest Patreon supporter. You can support this channel on Patreon. And I have a link to Alex's channel, E for Electric, in the description below as well. If you like what Alex has to say, or even if you don't, click there to see his channel and subscribe to his videos. So Alex, I made this video. I was really hard on you. I criticized you for being sponsored by Xpeng. I criticized some of the things you said. You wanted to come on the channel. What's on your mind?
Yeah, listen, I'm always happy to come on anyone's channel and have a great conversation and healthy conversation. No, I wasn't sure if I was at the right place because, I saw myself on your channel and the word idiot was nowhere near the title of the video. What is the world coming to? But I am happy to be here. Listen, a lot of concerns that you brought in your video, however style you decided to do it, actually things that I've heard before, right? And a lot of them, I don't blame you for sort of questioning some things that I've said or the sponsorships and stuff like that. The answers to all of these kind of questions and concerns are actually quite easy and simple. So I wanted to come on and have an actual conversation. I actually kind of wish maybe like you would have reached out to me before so we could have had this conversation without, having some assumptions that you've made and a lot of hate that I got from it, from your audience. They kind of like the army marched to my channel. But, I think I feature a lot of people on my channel for no other reason because we disagree. And because I, want to bring a different sort of point of view to my channel and, have a healthy debate. And you know what? Sometimes I want to change my mind and my opinion about things, because if I'm wrong all this time about something, I want somebody to come on and tell me, Alex, you're wrong about this. This is why. And me saying, you know what? Thank you for setting me straight. Thank you for, educating me. Now I have a more educated opinion. So I think the misunderstanding came from, I feel like, and I know I have like 1,400 videos out there. It's hard to watch all of them. And I feel like you might have been maybe a little unlucky, or maybe I've been a little unlucky that you watch specific videos that maybe made it look like I hate Tesla and I love Xpeng Motors and everybody else. Let me tell you something that I have told on my channel many times to my viewers. I'm very open about it. I think Tesla is by far number one electric car maker and automaker in the world. I bought my first Tesla. I actually have a picture of it. I bought my very top Tesla and I owned 3 altogether. I bought 2 more after this one. This is 2012. This is I'm one of the first 3,000 people who actually decided to buy this car. Just at that time it was a mess. Tesla did almost go bankrupt, and it was an electric technology nobody could really like grasp. And I thought, this is the future. Oh my God, they're doing something amazing. And then I bought another one and I bought another one. So I feel like I participated in supporting Tesla in the very early days where it was very important for people to buy them and support them. I've created online communities for Tesla owners, which I still run 4 of them for free. I run several Tesla owner communities on Facebook where everybody exchanges ideas, tries to maybe find products for Teslas and talk about some issues so they can resolve issues without having to call the service or schedule appointments. I do it every day. I approve messages. I gather more members. I think it's like 50,000 at this point. So, and I participate in Tesla events. There was just an amazing Tesla event, which I couldn't make it to. It's my first time not making it, in Central California, put together by Eli Burton of My Tesla Adventure. So I wouldn't have this job, Warren. I wouldn't be here right now. I would still be working in tech if it wasn't for Tesla.
But why did your video that I referred to seem to be so negative about Tesla?
Yeah, so that's another thing. And I know we just talked about it before we went on the air. I was actually surprised that you picked that video because my intention of that video was actually, it was a positive video about Tesla, how far ahead they were from everybody.
No, that's not what you said in the video.
Right. And so this is what I'm here to kind of clarify, but I'm telling you what my internal, sort of intent was, because Tesla had like this really two big advantages: monopolies. There was nobody close to it, right? And I feel like, naturally some other companies are starting to catch up, but there's so many other things.
Okay, let's go right there.
Yeah.
Who's catching up?
Okay, so actually this is probably, let's talk about the charging networks, right? So when I bought my Tesla and the second and third one, if you want to travel long distance, you had a choice of either buying a Tesla or not buying an electric car, period. No competition. There was nothing. There was just no reason to buy another electric car if you want to travel far away. And they've built out their network very quickly. It is flawless, right? And it works perfectly.
Sorry, what network is flawless?
Supercharger network.
The Tesla network is flawless.
Right, right. So but with time now, in Europe and here in the United States, there are other networks that started to come up. There's Electrify America, there is EVgo, them, right?
Yeah, they're terrible.
Well, have you ever used one?
I don't have an EV. I've watched videos of Sandy Monroe, for example, you feature on your channel a lot, using, I think it was Electrify America with a Ford Mustang Mach-E, and he couldn't get it to work.
Yeah, well, so I have an ID4, so I use this network all the time. And I've also, when I get cars from the brands to review, I use that network as well. It is definitely far from perfect. And by the way, that's another disclosure. They're one of my sponsors too. And I got to tell you, they're far from perfect. And definitely their app is far from perfect. I do not like the way I have to use their app.
So how can you describe them as catching up when, as far as I can tell, I mean, here's a key example of this. You described it as if the other charging networks are growing and they're catching up to Tesla, when by my numbers, Tesla is adding more superchargers this year than they are by far. And I just watched did you watch the Mercedes strategy session? Mercedes just did a video today. Did you watch that?
Not yet. I was actually on another show earlier.
Okay, so Mercedes did this video and they were basically begging the government to build chargers for them, because Electrify America and Ionity and EVgo are not growing at scale, are not built. So they're not catching up. They're falling further behind.
So here's where, I think here's the way I view it. 5 years ago, tons of superchargers everywhere, zero fast chargers anywhere else. Now, more than a ton of superchargers everywhere. But now there are some, and actually a good number of them, of alternative networks like Electrify America. So for example, where I'm at in California, I can go anywhere, literally. There's just tons of them. I have no problems finding them. I can travel to, I also live in Vegas. I can go to Vegas. I can go to Los Angeles. There's plenty of them.
There's chargers, but in terms of, you referred, I think in your video, to 350 kilowatt chargers.
Yeah.
So now it's a little misleading. And I showed this in my video, that there was this Porsche driver who went to, I believe it was actually a Porsche dealership, and he charged a 350 kilowatt charger.
Yeah.
But he only was averaging about 100, maybe 110 kilowatts an hour. So the 350 kilowatts only matters if you can sustain it, and apparently you can't. So,
yeah.
But I mean, but getting to that particular point about 350 kilowatt chargers, how many of them are out there?
Yeah, so that's interesting. So I know you showed a slide there, and it was at, I think, 77 kilowatts, which is nothing to brag about. I actually went back because there was a title of the video, so I went back and looked at the video, and I have a different frame from that video, and here it is. As you can see, it's actually being charged as 206 kilowatts earlier in the video, and I believe this was a Porsche Taycan.
Yes.
And I know you also said there was a kind of issues finding the videos of people charging at 350 kilowatt hour stations, but I also found plenty of them. Like this one is from Bjorn, who I think is a pretty respectful
Bjorn
YouTuber.
had a good video. Bjorn did. I found Bjorn's video later.
Yeah.
That was a good video.
Here's
Somebody commented with it.
Yeah, here's another one, and here's in the Porsche. You know, after that, I think it was Alex on autos. I actually literally spent like half an hour looking at all of these videos because there were, you know, quite a few of them, because people have tested, especially Porsche Taycan, on, you know, on fast charging. But so in your video, that Porsche is charging at over 200 kilowatts.
But you haven't shown one yet that was charging over 300 kilowatts.
Right.
So what's the point of having a 350 kilowatt charger if no one's charging it over 300 kilowatts?
Right. And it's so as you remember, I was comparing the supercharger network to, let's say, Electrify America or Ionity network. And there's a difference between how much power they can actually produce to how much power each car can actually take.
Yes.
So if you're comparing the networks, the Ionity and Electrify America, Fastnet, they do have a higher output possibility, output power for whatever cars are out there. There's not a single car right now that can charge at 350. There's a couple coming, but none on the market. But and compared to Tesla's, which is at 250, I think Elon just mentioned, is going to be 300 kilowatt. So as far as comparing the networks and the power they can output, the Electrify America and Ionity have chargers that are faster. And I don't know if you.
Yeah, but how many? One. I mean, Tesla's pumping out over 10,000 a year. Right, the Chinese factory they just opened is pumping out up to 10,000 a year, and the one in Buffalo is pumping out another 3,000 or 5,000 a year. So they're pumping out 15,000 a year that are going to be 300 kilowatt chargers or 250 kilowatt chargers. How many are there in the electric and all these other networks combined? Are there 1,000 of them?
Yes, there's actually, if you combine EVgo and Electrify America in the US here, I believe there's 2,500 of them. And I think Tesla has 2,000 locations. I'm talking about locations, not individual chargers. But another thing that I think so again, the point was that the technology that can put out the power, the Electrify America and Ionity just happened to have an ability to put out more power. So, but at the same time, you're right. There are cars that can't take as much of a charge. Still, right now on the market, Porsche Taycan is the electric vehicle that can actually take up to 170 kilowatts max, right? And I think the maximum, I think Tesla can take, I think 250, correct me if I'm wrong.
Right, but the point is that it's not just kilowatts, and you know this probably better than I do. When the battery's really low, you can't charge it too fast. When the battery's really high, you can't charge it too fast. If you have a really good battery management system on the car and you have a really good battery chemistry, then you can get higher rates of charge for a larger stretch of from 0 to 100. And Tesla has better battery management. Tesla has better battery chemistry. So Tesla is actually able to take more advantage of the charging network. A Tesla vehicle is able to take more advantage of the charging power than cars that don't have the same quality of battery management and don't have the same battery chemistry. You follow what I'm saying?
Absolutely, and I agree. But so there are two different topics here, right? One is how good and how powerful the network is in terms of the maximum power output of their actual chargers, right? And if you compare the Electrify America, let's say, and Tesla, Electrify America happened to have 350 kilowatt maximum. Tesla has 250 kilowatts. So if you're just comparing technology of the chargers, right now, Ionity and Electrify America and so forth, they are able to output more power. Now, so that's just one topic. That was my point, just comparing the networks.
Right. But the point there was not just, you said that Tesla is losing its advantage in the supercharger network. And I contend that Tesla is actually growing its advantage in the supercharger network because they are producing more superchargers, and the other companies can't really manage the economic model of building supercharger networks because there aren't enough EVs that use them, and they're begging governments for funding to build superchargers because they can't afford to build them themselves.
Yes, and I was actually going to go there, but I feel like you kind of answered for me there. But I'm just in a segment that you've featured, right? I was specifically comparing the chargers, not the cars. We'll get to the cars in a second. But as far as the charger technology, it's just like they're just, the 350 is just higher than 250.
I got it, but that's not what you said. You said that Tesla was losing its advantage,
right?
And I think you're wrong I think that Tesla is growing its advantage because they're building a lot more superchargers. They're even going to open it up to other EVs, apparently. So, it doesn't seem like it did. And you've seen these videos. You can see the Porsche video that I looked at. You can look at Bjorn's video. You can look at Sandy Monroe's video when he went to a Electrify America, whatever it was. There's no one else at the charging station. When you watch a video of a Tesla supercharger station, they're full a lot of the times. People have to wait to get a charger. But when you go to these other stations, it's like there's no one there.
Exactly. So that was my next point, is that I like the fact that when I go to the Electrify America charger, I don't have to wait in line. There's a stall for me. And if there's one not working, there's another stall for me. Though I do have to say that lately I've been seeing a little too many electric cars at Electrify America chargers as well. I think so the reason Tesla has to build more charging locations and stations is because there's way more Teslas out there. And it's really about the ratio between how many Teslas are on the road compared to how many available chargers out there. There's way less other electric car brands on the road that can actually fast charge. So right now, don't need that many fast charging locations, though they are building them very quickly. I mean, Electrify America just doubled their goal for the next 4 years.
They doubled their goal doesn't mean they built them. How many did they deploy this year?
I don't know about this year. I know they have over 600, and they're going to end up with about 800 at the end of the year.
Stations or chargers?
Locations, like actual locations. They usually have 2 to 6,
Okay.
but usually 4 per location.
Because by my numbers, Tesla has 25,000. The last quarter that I saw, Tesla had over 25,000 superchargers. Chargers,
yeah, but superchargers
not
So I think,
and they're adding. My gut is around 3,000 a quarter, so 12,000 this year, maybe more.
I look at them as locations because it doesn't really matter how many chargers are there, because that needs to be proportionate to the cars rather than, how many convenient locations can I get to get my charge. So I look at locations. So in America, if you count EVgo, which is actually not too fair, but if you count EVgo along with Electrify America, there's, I think, a little bit more locations than the Tesla superchargers. But Tesla has to have more supercharging locations because there are way more Teslas than other cars. So it has to be in proportion. But, going back to my topic, and I think...
wait a second. Can't Teslas charge at these other stations?
In some cases, no. In some cases, they can. Like, for example, EVgo will actually have in some locations charge the plugs for Teslas. But if you come to Electrify America, you would need an adapter at the very least.
So somebody could buy an adapter and go to any Electrify America or
yeah, but those
EVgo
adapters,
station.
Yeah, I think they're kind of expensive, but they limit the power as well. But in Europe, everyone's having the same standard. In Europe, you can actually pull up to Ionity or Fastnet and charge because everybody's using CCS standard there. So it's much easier to kind of share.
So I wanted to ask you about range because that was the first thing you brought up in your video.
Yeah. So hold on, before we get there, I really like to talk about range as well. But so I'm just trying to point out that what I'm saying is there were no competition to Tesla whatsoever. There were just no locations, none. If that was the case today and I have my ID4, I would not be able to travel, period. But now there are some. I think we can agree that there are some locations out there now. And so basically when you compare to 0, and now you have to compare to some, which is actually 2,500 locations in the US, that means the gap is closing because there is competition, which, by the way, if I was a Tesla owner, I would love to have that, because the more competition there is to Tesla, the better Teslas are going to be for those who love the brand.
Okay, well, let's talk about, I think my point is really simple. Tesla is adding more superchargers than all the others combined. This year, Tesla will add more superchargers than all the others combined. So I don't think Tesla is losing their advantage. I think they're growing their advantage. But I want to turn to range.
But hold on, Warren. But
sure.
What I'm trying to make a point is that it's per how many cars are on the road, right? You can't have this if you have the same amount of locations for Tesla owners as you have for, let's say, Electrify America owners, there will be even longer lines at some of the superchargers. So I think the more correct way to compare is how many charging locations are there per, let's say, 100,000 cars that can charge at that location. Would you say that's more fair to compare?
No, but I think we can agree to disagree on that point.
Well, that's math, though. But okay, all right.
I mean, to think of your argument as, well, other EV makers won't be making that many EVs, so that, you know, they're doing fine by having as many chargers as they have. That's not really a strong argument for Tesla losing its advantage. Tesla is probably going to add 900,000 vehicles worldwide this year. And one of the reasons they're going to add 900,000 vehicles worldwide, maybe it's 850,000, it doesn't have to be 900,000, but somewhere in that ballpark. And the reason they're able to build so many EVs in part is because they have this spectacular supercharger network. And the other EV makers have many reasons why. I actually disagree with your contention. Part was that Tesla's losing its two biggest advantages. I don't even agree that range and superchargers are their two biggest advantages. But if your argument is the other EV makers aren't making that many EVs, so Tesla's losing its advantage, that's not really a strong argument in my book.
That's not. So I'm looking at it from the consumer perspective, right? Like I'm not an investor in this company because I don't care about Tesla or Volkswagen or Xpeng as companies. I care about consumers who use their products. So from the consumer perspective, I want to see how many available locations are out there for how many other people with the same car that will be competing with me at the supercharger location, so I don't have to wait in line. So what I'm saying is the gap is also in the technology, right? Like I just said that it just happens so that, you know, Fastnet and Ionity and Electrify America fast chargers just happen to be able to output more power. And it's okay. Like the world is not ended. Tesla is still better at supercharging. I'm telling you right now, Tesla is still better at supercharging. It's just the gap is closing. There was a humongous gap, and there's now is just a gap. And I always felt that that's one of the reasons I kept buying my Teslas, was because that was one of the two biggest advantages I thought they had, that they also had an infrastructure for their customers. And that was a huge thing for me.
Okay. So like I said, I don't think we're going to agree on this point. I think we've both explained our positions well, and there's like 1,000 people watching, and they can, you know, at the moment there's 1,000 people, they can figure it. By the way, I don't know if you noticed who's in the chat, like Tom Nash is in the chat, Ricky from 2-Bit Da Vinci is in the chat. So there's some people watching who are interested. I wanted to turn to this point about range, because you said Tesla was losing its range advantage. And you said in your video that there are 8 EVs on the market already. As I heard you, that there's 8 EVs on the market, or 8 EVs with 300 miles of range. So let's start with this. Maybe I heard it wrong. What did you mean by that?
You did hear it wrong. Actually, I went to the point of the video last night, and I was like, if I said that, I should be corrected. And I will say that on Warren's show today that I was wrong. But that's not what I said. What I said is there are, 12, really actually 14. I dug up a few more actually while we were talking. But there were 12, besides Tesla, 8 electric cars on the market this year that have over 300. And the year, we're still in July. I'm talking about cars that are either on the market right now or are scheduled to come to the market, like Rivian, for example.
Do you have a list? Oh, Rivian.
Yeah, I have a list. As a matter of fact, there's more than 8. So here, Lucid Air, Ford Mustang Mach-E, which you have mentioned.
Wait, you're saying that Lucid Air is going to come on the market this year after they just had an investor call, and they just in their investor call said that they're maintaining their numbers for 2022 and 2023, but did not, or sorry, maybe it was 2023 and 2024, but explicitly or implicitly did not maintain their numbers for 2021 and 2022.
I'm simply saying that I will take each brand's word for what they're saying until they prove me wrong. For example, when Tesla told me that they were going to bring the full self-driving package to life 2 years ago, I believed them. When they were going to bring the semi-truck in 2018, I believed them. So until they prove me wrong, I'm going to take their word for it.
So Rivian and Lucid Air, what else?
Rivian have 2, right? BMW i4 and BMW iX. I'm actually going to check them out in person in a couple of weeks. They both have a 300-mile range. I hope you can believe that BMW do bring their cars to market within reasonable. Mercedes-Benz EQS is going to be on the market. Nissan Ariya, I'm looking forward to that one. It's going to be a very, I think, popular car. Hummer EV is also going to be, at least that's what they're saying, market on before the end of the year. Then there are a couple of cars that are already on the market. I think you missed Volkswagen ID3, which is in Europe. And your favorite brand, Xpeng Motors, actually P7 has also way over 300-mile range.
Is that WLTP?
No, if you transfer it, I think WTP it's like 500 something. But I'm really conservative with those numbers. I think it's about 400 EPA transferable range, but let's just go with 300. It's definitely over 300. So these cars, the 3 cars that are already market, in your video you mentioned there's only 1. There's 3, but there's 8 more that are coming on the market, and half of them from manufacturers that have been pretty solid about keeping their word when their cars are coming on the market. So
it's your impression that the EQS is going to be delivered in 2021?
Yes, from my so you have to understand. So I'm an electric car journalist. So my job is to consistently stay in touch with the brands, from their PR department to people who are actually working on these cars, the leads, the project managers. From everything that I'm gathering from my contacts and my communication with Mercedes-Benz, the EQS will be on the market this year in the United States.
Okay, so I didn't have your list before this conversation, so I can't argue with everything. I don't think that my recollection of the Mercedes presentation and everything I've heard from Mercedes is they're not going to deliver the EQS this year. I follow Lucid Air closer than probably anyone. I will stake my reputation on the fact that, well, I think Lucid, when they if they eventually deliver a car, which I think they may never deliver a car, they will beat 300 miles of range. I don't think there's any chance Lucid's delivering a car this year after the investor call that they just had, where they explicitly said we are maintaining our guidance for 2023 and 2024, and they didn't say 2021 and 2022.
And you might be right. And you might be right. I just did a video about the fact that I'm a little bit worried as well. But my job is to communicate to my audience what we have on schedule right now. There are a couple of cars that actually fell off that schedule, right? They were promised and they're not going to be delivered. I'm a little worried about Hummer EV myself also, right? But my point is that I can only report on what's in the media in terms of press releases and what I personally know from communicating with the brands. By the way, Lucid Air, I know a lot of people in Lucid Air, just specifically and personally. Their CEO has been on my show 6 or 7 times. So I feel like I also have a pretty good understanding of what's happening there, but you could be right. As far as having the list, that's what I kind of was getting at in the beginning of the video. I feel like you're not as familiar with my work. And if you would have searched a little bit my channel, you'll see I actually have an entire video specifically titled, I believe, 12 electric cars that are going to be on the market this year with over 300 miles of range. And I obviously start with 4 of them being from Tesla.
Okay. Well, so I think the key point here, the key point here is you said that Tesla's losing its advantage. Tesla has 4 vehicles that already have over 300 miles of range. And not only do they have over 300 miles of range, the Model 3 long range has over 350 miles of range. And the Model S has over 400 miles of range. The Model X has over 300. I think it's 300 and I forget how many miles of range the Model X has, but it's over 350. And the Model Y, maybe it's 325 or something like that. So barely getting over the 300-mile hurdle is one thing. Tesla is producing cars in volume. So let's go through your list and let me ask you this question. Which vehicle that you described will be sold in the most volume? In 2021, which vehicle will be sold in any meaningful volume in 2021?
Well, so for example, I think the most sold car is going to be either, and then not in 2021, because they're still, like, for example, Nissan Ariya is coming at the end of the year. I think it's going to be a very popular car, but they're not going to ramp up their production until probably middle of next year. Ford Mustang Mach-E, I don't know how much their production is ramped up. Obviously, it's not yet because it's only been several months. So out of the 300+ mile range cars, a lot of them, they're just luxury cars. Like EQS is not going to sell in hurdles, right? Like, or even Rivian won't. But out of the ones that I see on the list, so Volkswagen ID3 in Europe is already being sold pretty well. Their production is actually ramped up. I think depending on the month, they outsell even the Model 3 in Europe as well. So there are a couple of them here that are going to be definitely people's cars and sold in pretty exciting volumes. And I think you as a Tesla owner should be excited about it as well, because Like I said, the more there is competition, the better your next Tesla is going to be.
Well, no, let me be clear. Whether it's competition or not, I want there to be more EVs. I want there to be more good EVs. And it's actually one of the concerns I have is the tone of your video, which is not just you. I feel like a lot of videos do this, is you are pitting Tesla against other EVs. And you're basically saying, well, it's a common Tesla Q thing to describe some other vehicle as a Tesla killer. And personally, I think the Mercedes EQS is a Lucid killer, but that's a whole nother conversation. But what I believe is the standard for an EV is it better than the ICE cars? You don't need to be better than Tesla. You need to be better than your comparable ICE car. And if all these vehicles are produced and they're not as good as Tesla's cars, but they're better than ICE cars, then we get rid of the plague of ICE cars. For those who don't know ICE, internal combustion engine. We get rid of the internal combustion engine cars faster. So I want all of these companies to succeed in making EVs, whether they're better than Tesla or not. And I think the problem is that you're describing vehicles. I don't know enough about I agree with you. The ID.3 is being delivered in Europe. I was not aware that it has 300 miles of range, and I'll have to check that. The Nissan Ariya is not out yet. It looks like it might be a good vehicle. I have not heard a 300-mile range claim for it yet. But this is the problem. Tesla made 500,000 cars last year. They're on pace to make in the ballpark of 900,000 cars this year. I believe, and this is extreme, I'm on the edge here when I say this. I believe Tesla will make 2 million cars in 2022. And that might be more cars, more EVs than Mercedes makes for its whole fleet, gas and ICE and EV together. So the key is, it's nice if you make a few EVs that have more than 300 miles of range. But if you don't make them in volume, which none of these are being made anywhere close to the volumes Tesla's making, then they're not taking away anything from Tesla's advantage, because Tesla still has more range and Tesla's selling in higher volume. So that's the problem. When you describe it as Tesla losing an advantage, I think you're detracting from Tesla. You're saying that Tesla has a problem and Tesla does not have a problem.
So there's a lot to unpack here. So first of all, I
said too much.
Yeah, that's okay. And I appreciate that. So first of all, I don't call any car Tesla killer. Okay, that's just stupid, I think. There's no Tesla killers. Secondly, the reason I compare electric vehicles that are coming on the market to Tesla and not gas cars, because beating gas cars is easy. I think we can all agree that the way to get somebody to like an electric car is just let them drive one. It's just easy. I think my responsibility to my viewers is to not only inform them about all the amazing things that are going on in the world of electric cars and Tesla, but also talk about some shortcomings and disadvantages and things that everybody can do better. I criticize Tesla, I criticize Volkswagen, I criticize, pretty much every single brand that I think I've ever talked about. And I think the reason I compare them all to Tesla is because Tesla is, and I hope you agree with me, the industry leader. And everybody should try to do at least as good as the best in the industry.
No, I would say differently. Toyota or Volkswagen are the vehicle industry leaders in terms of the number of vehicles produced.
Correct.
Tesla is the leader in EVs.
Yes.
But if you are making, this is a key point. This is why I say this about your goal should not be to compete with Tesla. It should be to compete with ICE. There are, I think, something like 2% of all vehicles produced in 2020 were EVs, and 98% were ICE vehicles. If you are coming out with a new vehicle and your goal is to compete with the 2%, then you're missing the opportunity to compete with the 98%. And so I think the notion, I agree, Tesla is the technology leader. Tesla will be the largest car maker in the world in about 5 years. But right now, Tesla produced 500,000 cars versus like 10 million cars for Volkswagen and Toyota. So the idea that you coming out with an EV should be competing with Tesla is nonsense. You should be, if you're making an SUV, you should be competing with the Toyota Highlander or the Toyota RAV4. If you're making a sedan, you should be competing with the Toyota Camry. And it is misleading the consumer, and it is misleading people who are developing EVs to make them try to compete with a standard that they're not going to make. No one has, let me say this, no one yet has made an EV that is better than the 2018 Tesla Model 3 long range. No one. Okay, no other EV maker has made a vehicle better than that yet.
hold on. You kind of let me address some of the things. So first of all, I think this is where misunderstanding comes in, right? So yes, I totally agree that the electric vehicles should be competing with gas cars. And honestly, every brand that I ever talk to, when I say, who are you guys competing with? Like, for example, ID4, Volkswagen will tell you, we're not competing with Model Y. We're competing with, RAV4s and so forth of the world. And so that is, they are. What I'm saying is not about competition, is about the standard of quality, right? So when it comes to a standard of quality, I think all of the manufacturers should try to make a car that's at least as technologically advanced as Tesla. That's why a lot of times I compare them. The fact that they need to compete in their own segments with gas cars, that goes without saying. There's no value that I can add by saying that. And another thing that I think is kind of a very, this is why I think we get into disagreements where we really don't disagree, is when you use the term better. The term better is very vague, which just doesn't really mean anything. Is McDonald's better than In-N-Out? I don't know. For you maybe, but for me it's not.
When you say Tesla is losing their advantage, you acknowledge that Tesla is better, and you say Tesla is soon going to be not better.
No. So that's why I'm saying I feel like you misunderstood you got the first part right. So hold on. So let me explain. You got the first part right. The whole I'm making the video by saying, hey, Tesla is better. Generally they're the leader in all of this in all this technology, but they're losing a couple of advantage. But look at all of the amazing things that they also got going on that can be improved and probably will be improved. And that's how Tesla can actually stay on top and keep their crown. These two other advantages they had, they won't need them anymore. I don't think they'll have them for too long, but they won't need them anymore, because I named 5 other things that Tesla can by far separate themselves from the competition. So to me, that's why I thought this video was actually positive rather than negative about Tesla, because now they have more things that they can compete with finally the competition that they got. In the 2 ones that they had, really kind of going to be a moot point. So I thought this was a positive. You can find negative videos that I made about Tesla. There's no doubt about it. I have been critical at times, just like I would praise Tesla at times. But this video, when I was making it, there's a positive video about Tesla, and also informing my audience about how things are changing in terms of Tesla's position in the market.
Okay, so I can tell you as an admittedly biased pro-Elon, pro-Tesla fan, I watched your video and it came off as very negative towards Tesla for the future. It happens
all the time. It happens all the time.
And I wanted to, one of the things that you said was that, let's stay on range for a second. You said, well, 200 miles of range is enough. And because you've been following Tesla, you've been following EVs for a long time. One of the biggest knocks on EVs is they don't have enough range. They don't have enough range. Even Tesla fans are criticizing Tesla for dropping the Plaid Plus's 500 miles of range. They're afraid that Tesla will that Tesla will not deliver 500 miles range in the Cybertruck Tri-Motor. 200 miles of range is not enough in the eyes of most people. And you said 200 miles of range is enough. And I don't know how, the history of EVs. And the big knock on EVs is they don't have enough range. How could you all of a sudden come out and say 200 miles of range is enough when it never was?
Well, again, this comes to you not being as familiar with my channel as I would have probably wished. So I have been saying this all along. And again, the good thing about my videos, they're all public. You can go back 2-3 years and watch them. I've always said that any EV that has over 200 miles of range is good enough. The problem is not so much the reason people say that we need 300, 400, 500 miles is because people still have the range anxiety, especially the first time electric vehicle users. They don't understand that it's a completely different way of refueling your vehicle now. They don't have to go to a gas station once a week. They just charge every night. So all they have to worry about is not filling up the tank for an entire week. They just have to worry about the next 24 hours, of course, with the exception of long distance trips. And there are many, many studies and surveys out there that says an average driver drives 30, 40 miles a day, depending on which state or country they're at. So 200-mile range is more than enough for most consumers based on their driving habits. So that's where it came from. But I've always said 200 miles plus range, that's all we need. Dragging a 150 or even 100 kilowatt hour battery so you can just drop off your kids at school and come home is a waste of money, energy, and technology.
But the perception that I hear from people, particularly let's say you live in the north and you get winter and EV range is less in the winter, and then you're towing something. There's a lot of, or you're going on a long trip. There's a lot of people who have the perception that 200 miles of range is not enough. I mean, I think you've explained your position, so I think we can move on. I think one of my big concerns was your reference to range and the Chargers as being Tesla's two biggest advantages, when, if you ask Elon Musk, he does not say that those are the two biggest advantages. What do you think Elon would say as Tesla's biggest advantage?
Well, I think right now he would say that it would be the full self-driving technology.
Okay, so what I hear him say, because he says full self-driving will eventually be a commodity. Tesla's biggest advantage is manufacturing. Tesla's biggest advantage will be manufacturing. Tesla has other big advantages. FSD is arguably not that big. It's an advantage. Software in general is a big advantage for Tesla. I think safety is a big advantage. Tesla make the safest cars on the road. And I think the other thing is what we don't know about all these other EVs yet. So you can tell me that Nissan Ariya or Mercedes EQS, they're Lucid Air in particular, I'm concerned about. They're coming out with these EVs and they're going to have all this range. Well, how long are their battery packs going to last? We don't know whether these vehicles will have the life. We know there's like a Tesla Model S with, was it 600,000 miles of life on, of use. There's several Teslas that have lasted several 100,000 miles. And we have no idea whether any of these vehicles, because what they're doing is they're pushing the limits of battery chemistry. They're pushing the limits of their technological ability, and because they're so far behind Tesla, we don't know what compromises they're making. They're going to make this a problem. So I think it was Mercedes said they're using NMC 811 battery chemistry. NMC 811 is not a thoroughly tested battery chemistry yet. We don't know what the cycle life is going to be for that chemistry when it's put into use in a vehicle. So I just feel like Tesla has so many different advantages, and to categorize it and say, these are their two biggest advantages and they're losing them. Number one, I don't agree they're losing them. But number two, you're selling Tesla short on all its other advantages. Don't you agree that Tesla has lots of advantages?
This is where our opinions differ, simply because we're looking at it two different perspectives. I feel like you're looking at it from an investor perspective. So you care, for example, of their manufacturing process and what their margins are and how effective they can be, right? As an investor, it is a very reasonable thing to do. My job to only look at things from a consumer point of view. Consumers don't really care most of the time whether the margins of the cars that they just bought for the manufacturer.
They probably don't like high margins.
I'm just saying this is not the concern. So when I say the advantages, I mean from the consumer perspective, right? So like factories, the production process, none of that matters to the consumers. They actually care about the consumer things like the range and the ability to charge and the speed to charge. And I understand.
And the software and the safety and the reliability and durability and life of the car.
Correct. I agree with that. But you one of the first things you named was the manufacturer, and I said they don't really care about it. And if as far as your comments about, that some of this, we don't know what's going to happen with these batteries that everyone's coming out with, I can agree with you more. Just like we don't know about what's going to happen with the 4680 batteries that Tesla is manufacturing, hopefully at the end of this year. But I'm excited about, and I hope they put it in their cars. I hope that that makes the range longer and a better safety because it's integrated pack, per what Sandy Moreau has been saying many times. So, we don't know. This is all new technology, whether it's from Tesla or a different manufacturer. We're just going to have to wait and see what's going to happen. And those who do go wrong, like there's been fires with a Chevy Bolt lately, they need to look at the LG Cam, which by the way is one of Tesla's surprises as well, technology, and see where they went wrong and how to improve it. But we're in this times where technology happens this fast, and we're just gonna wait and see which technology is better with longevity, price, and so forth and so forth. So if you look at it from the perspective of the consumer, things are very exciting. And yeah, listen, I don't mind disagreeing with you on this one. I think that Tesla's is going to lose some of this advantages because they were just ginormous and now they're just shrinking. And I also think that they won't need them. They have plenty of other things how they can easily compete with other brands for years to come.
So you say that you're focused on the consumer, but then in your video, you made this comparison to the iPhone and said there's going to be an Android. There's always Android.
Yeah.
And first of all, it's not really accurate because there's no, iPhone is one standard and Android is another standard. There's no standard that's being adopted by the other manufacturers. But it sounded like you were saying Tesla's going to be in trouble because Android's going to come along. And that's not really a consumer issue.
Nobody says Tesla's in trouble.
It's funny when you say
Tesla is in trouble, but
when you said Tesla's losing their advantages, that's not an issue from a consumer perspective.
But let's just be I want to be clear about it. I never said that Tesla's going to be in trouble. Like, I know you said I said it, but I never said it.
Well, what was the point of the iPhone Android comparison then?
I'll tell you in a second, but let's just be agreed that I've never said it.
That's not the way I heard it. I can't agree.
You can replay the video.
I heard it the way I heard it.
I know, but it's not in the video. I've never said that Tesla is going to be in a lot of trouble. They're going to start losing market. Like, for example, I don't think they're going to be. I said, hey, they were in a PR trouble in China, but that's not going to transfer to their sales. There's the reality.
You said FSD was scaring customers away.
Yes, I think FSD is scaring some customers away.
Okay,
from buying it.
But their sales are, they've sold out Model Y through the third quarter. They're selling every car they make. They're having trouble delivering enough cars to meet demand. Why would you even say that FSD is scaring customers away?
Every car manufacturer sells all the cars they made. You've never seen a Ford or a Volkswagen car going in the junkyard because they couldn't sell it. So, every manufacturer sells all the cars they make.
Okay, look,
so let's be clear on that.
If you go to a Tesla store and you say, I'd like to buy a Tesla today, what's going to happen?
You tell me. I mean, they have sometimes they have demo models. Sometimes they have cars that somebody turned back.
Okay. And if you go to a Ford dealer,
I can tell you,
if you go to a Ford dealer or a VW dealer, they're going to have hundreds of cars on the lot.
You think there will be hundreds Mustang Mach-E's on the lot right now?
No, cars.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about electric cars, right?
Of course, there's no Mustang Mach-E's. They're not making enough yet. This is part of the problem, that none of these cars are being made in volume.
What do you mean not making enough? I can argue that, Tesla is not making enough of Model Y because look at the demand. No one's making enough of this new hot cars, right? I mean, that's pretty normal.
Well, I mean, Volkswagen had a problem in Europe where they were caught selling cars to their dealerships and counting them as sales.
For the ID4?
I don't remember which car it was. It was the ID3 or the ID4.
ID4.
Are you telling me that didn't happen? Are you telling me there wasn't a scandal where Volkswagen was selling cars to its own dealership?
Not with an ID4, my friend. No, not with an ID4. ID4.
I'm talking about EVs.
Yes.
I don't know specifically it was ID4 or ID3.
The only cars are selling is ID3 and ID4. So, by the way, I'm not aware of the story that you told me just now, so I can't speak to it. But I can tell you that you can go to any dealership right now for Volkswagen and be laughed at if you're going to ask to buy an ID4 of the trim that you want right now. They might have one car, possibly, but most of them will tell you that they are all sold out because they are not making enough of them because the demand right now is very high. Same with the Mustang Mach-E. By the way, I should also disclose that Volkswagen is one of my sponsors, so I want to be transparent about it.
Okay, well, you brought up the China protester in your video. What was the point of bringing up the China protester and saying Tesla needs PR and marketing? Why did you say that? What does PR and marketing have to do with the consumer experience?
I never said marketing. Once again, let's just be
clear.
You did.
Not marketing. I just watched it today. Okay. You said PR. They didn't have the PR and marketing to deal with the China protester. That's the exact words you used.
Fine. So
PR and marketing.
It is okay. So first of all, are we in agreement that it's good for a company to have a PR department to deal? Really? No. Every single person there, and I guess you might be in the minority, believes that it's much easier to handle some of the FUD, by the way, as you like to call it, if you have a PR department dedicated to making sure that anything that's not true or negative about the brand itself has the last word, or at least have their 2 cents. It's an industry-wide accepted concept. But I'll tell you what happened.
So let's agree with something. Yeah. There's an industry-wide way of doing things.
Yeah.
And Tesla doesn't do things the way the rest of the industry does things.
Yeah.
And Tesla's been winning. And your suggestion that Tesla needs a PR department, which is straight out of Tesla Q, straight out of the Gary Black world, that Tesla's doing something. Here's the reality. If Tesla had a PR department, and I don't know if you know, I tweeted this, and Elon has basically, he fired the PR department or closed the PR department. I tweeted about this. Here's what happens with the PR department for Tesla. There's two scenarios. There's a story out there. This probably false story, like this China protester or the Tesla vehicle crashing and blaming it on autopilot. And Tesla does not have a PR department. What happens is the story gets a brief flash, and then Tesla doesn't respond, and the story dies. The other scenario is Tesla has a PR department, and Tesla does a PR release and tries to tell the media, here's what really happened with the story. And then the media does another round of stories misdescribing what Tesla said, giving the story more life and more bad press for Tesla because the media does not treat Tesla fairly. So, and Elon said exactly in response to my tweet. So Tesla's position is what I said, which is a PR department is a negative for Tesla because the media is so biased against Tesla that anything Tesla says, it's like I don't know if you know, I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I'm mostly retired. And one of the things that we all say and that is said to people who are arrested in the United States is anything you say can and will be used against you. Anything Tesla says in response to one of these negative stories is used against them rather than for them. There's virtually no favorable media that is going to take what Tesla says and say, oh, it's all okay. Tesla explained it. They twist it and they turn it and they try to make it worse than it is. So there's no point in having a PR department, and there's no need for a marketing department.
So I'll tell you why I disagree. So there are 3 points really. One is having a voice, having Tesla or any brand have a voice in anything is always a good thing for the brand. If that voice somehow gets twisted around and the brand still ends up losing, that means you're just not very good at PR.
No, it means that the media is biased against Tesla, and no matter what Tesla says, the media will look. We just had Elon say, yeah, the Cybertruck might be a flop, right? And the media blows up and says, oh, Elon admits Cybertruck might be a flop. Do you think Cybertruck's going to be a flop?
I think if Tesla had a PR department would never let their CEO come out on record saying that a product would be a flop. So if they had a PR department, this would have never happened in the first place.
Why does Elon have 58 million followers on Twitter?
He's a very popular guy. I'm one of his
Why
followers.
Is he popular?
You tell me. There are many
because he says what he believes. PR departments don't say what they believe. PR departments say scripted stuff to try to persuade people of stuff. Elon just says what he's thinking, and people respect the fact that he says what he's thinking. And he'll say, "Hey, I think the Cybertruck was a crazy idea, but yeah, maybe it's going to be a flop." He doesn't think it's going to be a flop. He knows it's not going to be a flop. He's just blowing smoke, and everyone who follows him knows he's saying that for fun.
Honestly, I can just tell you that every single company believes that having a voice to actually counter the media is a good thing. And, Tesla
and every single company has a smaller market cap than Tesla.
Hold on a second. And Tesla subscribed to that theory for many, many years until recently. So Elon has believed that PR is a good thing. So he must have believed that at some point, but this is just I believe that it's a good thing for a company to have a voice. And I am totally fine to agree to disagree on this one, but I believe that the way the Chinese protester issue was handled, it actually, there's some counties in China even suggested banning Tesla cars from the roads because of this, because they said, well, see, what happening is Tesla's brake is no good. Tesla's brakes are not working, so we're going to ban these Teslas from our counties. That's what was happening. In a couple of cases, it happened for a very brief moment. But I'm just saying.
And then what happened?
Warren, just let me finish. What I'm saying is that you never even want to push your company.
No. You are saying that Tesla's got banned in certain counties in China.
No, I said they are, the several counties have discussed it. By the way, you can never state one way or another what actually happened. There were reports that, yes, they were banned. There were some reports that said, well, they were just considering a ban. I'm not in China. It's hard to figure out.
Do you agree that the protester was a fraud?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you agree that Tesla did not have any brake problem in any meaningful way that this protester claimed, right?
That's not what I've heard from people who I'm in contact in China. A lot of people said there was a really big movement. I shouldn't say big, a really big movement. There was
Are the people you're in contact with China Xpeng?
No.
Because you're sponsored by Xpeng.
Right. And we'll talk about it in a second, but other journalists, other American journalists, European journalists, and just people who I know live in China. When I communicate with them, I ask them, what are you seeing? Because, you know, they have a completely different social media than us.
So you brought up the PR department. I wanted to ask you a question because you've been
doing
this.
Hold on a second. Let me just finish.
Go ahead.
I'll just tell you where my information came from. I'm telling you, during that week after the protest, there were a lot of negative and false information about Tesla in Chinese social media. And some of the local governments were considering banning that car. I propose that if Tesla had a voice in all of that, they would be able to simply point out to the facts that here's the data from that car, here's the history with this owner, and all of this is not true. It should.
How much would that cost?
PR departments don't cost that much, actually.
Well, you got to have a PR department in the US. You got to have a PR department in China. You got to have PR people going around all of Chinese social media with 1.4 billion people. You got to have a PR department in every county in China, apparently. Here's the thing. You start with EVPR.
Hold on a second.
Let me be clear about something here. You start with PR. Gary Black's been saying this stuff, okay? You start with PR, and then you said marketing, and here's what happens. Right now, Tesla spends practically zero on this stuff. And General Motors and Volkswagen and Toyota spend billions of dollars a year on this stuff. Okay. And the problem is that you're taking money that could be invested in making better factories and better cars and better software and better self-driving and more superchargers. And you're spending money on PR people and advertising. Here's the deal. If you want to sell more cars, make better cars. If you want to sell more cars, make more cars. That's what Tesla's doing. They're not wasting money on PR and marketing.
So let me go back to what I was saying. PR departments don't cost much at all. Okay, it's just literally 3 or 4 people sitting in an office. The budgets are relatively small.
Wait. 3 or 4 people sitting in an office are going to confront bad social media in China?
That's how it works through not just automotive industry, but throughout all of the industries. That's just how it works. I don't know how often you deal with PR departments. I deal with PR departments all the time. That's how it works. They do have a budget for events, but again, in the grand scheme of things, PR departments is one of the cheapest things you can do. And pretty much the majority of not only auto industry, but pretty much all industry, especially bigger companies, absolutely do have it. There are tons of PR agencies on top of that. So generally, people are in agreement that having a voice, to counter the media is a good thing. But we don't have to agree on it.
Okay.
If you don't mind, right now, because I think we're hour in, but I think the biggest sort of, the biggest response that I got, and this is not something that I haven't dealt with before, is the notion of my sponsorships, right? And so why don't you just, like, for the sake of just people maybe haven't seen the video or whatever, let me understand this correctly. So I have several sponsors, but a couple of them are auto manufacturers. One of Xpeng Motors, and another one is a Volkswagen of America. That's current ones. I believe your suggestion was that if you take money from an auto manufacturer for advertising, you absolutely will basically talk nothing but positively about that brand and nothing but negatively about the other brands, especially Tesla, because they're their biggest competition.
I think if you didn't speak positively about the brand that's sponsoring you, you're not going to have that sponsor for very long.
So, well, actually, this is where we'll find out, because this week, last week I released a video about Volkswagen ID4 that have criticized, because it was pros and cons, because I've had it for 3 months now, and I've I did my cons and I did my cons and pros and cons, and I've criticized them harshly for a couple of things, and definitely about their app. So we'll see. And by the way, I told them I'm going to do it. And as a matter of fact, when I talked to their highest executives and I said I'm going to do it, and they're like, we're sponsoring an unbiased influencer, so we know you're going to criticize us here and there, and that's perfectly fine.
Did you let them review the video before you published it?
Absolutely not. Why would I let them review the video? So here's the thing. Every contract that I sign with any brand, whether it's sponsorship, like for example, I'm a brand ambassador for Los Angeles Auto Show. I have other sort of partnerships. I do not sign anything unless there's one clause in that agreement. I just do not sign it. And the clause has to say that the brand has zero power, zero control over my content. All they're buying, and they're very much aware of this, they're buying the space. Wherever I put their logo, it's in the header of my channel, and it's in a corner of my videos. The shout out that I do for them, and the call to action and description of this video. That's what advertising is. That's what I'm selling on my channel. Now, again, if we go back to my content, you can go look at that ID4 video. There's no way in hell a sponsored video by a brand would have this type of criticism. I can also talk about Byton, for example. Byton was a big sponsor of mine until, unfortunately, they went belly up. But I have never said anything negative about Byton until after they sponsored my channel. And again, those videos are available for you to see. But specifically about Xpeng Motors, because I think you said that I'm specifically advertising a competitor. I talk nothing but negatively about Tesla because it helps them to sell cars. Is that?
No, what I said was that you were, first of all, I give you credit for openly saying and making it very obvious that you're sponsored by Xpeng in the video. I didn't know you were sponsored by Volkswagen, but I give you credit. Your video was very transparent. And this is a positive for you, that you were open that you were sponsored by Xpeng. So I don't, and I think I said that in my original video that I give you credit for it.
And just to interject, sorry, I'm as transparent about every single sponsor. It is always, I always mark my videos that there's paid promotion inside. I always put it on the screen visually. It's in the header of my channel. It's in the description. And I always make sure that I say that this video is sponsored or brought to you by. I've always been very transparent.
Okay, so here's the thing.
But wait a second, I ask you a question though.
Go ahead.
Because I'm trying to answer it. But am I understanding the way you look at my channel is that when I take money from Xpeng Motors, essentially what they pay me is not the advertising, but essentially talk badly about Tesla and talk very nicely about them because they're competitors. Is that?
No, what I'm saying is that when you accept a sponsorship, and I think if you remember the beginning of my video, I pointed out that I feel like this is like a larger YouTuber problem, okay? That at the opening of my video, I talked about this, that I make videos that I'm passionate about. And I feel like some YouTubers lose their way. They lose their passion for what they're excited about. They get used to doing certain things that entertain the audience, and they let that take them away from what got them started.
Warren, I hear you. But
then the point is that at some point when their videos aren't successful anymore and they're not making as much money from their videos anymore, or as much money as they want to make from their videos, then the lure of the sponsorship appears. And you know, to your credit, I haven't been offered any sponsorships like that, so you're doing something right. But the lure of the sponsorship, I think you have a great
sponsorship. Come on, you do make money off of Tesla stock and merchandise. Is it not true?
I make money off. Well, not Tesla merchandise. I make money. I own Tesla stock. Let's be clear. I have never hidden the fact, and I frankly brag about the fact that I own a ridiculous amount of Tesla stock.
Right.
And in my videos, I say, please check out the merch. Link to the merch in the description below. elonbits.com. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
I make money from this. But let's be clear. The merch, the money I make from YouTube.
That you are receiving money from essentially as being a shareholder of Tesla, from the success of Tesla, including the merchandise?
Let's be clear. I've never received a penny from Tesla or from Tesla stock because I've never sold a share. So I have Tesla stock. The valuation of my accounts have grown, but I have not received a penny.
Your wealth Tesla have gone up, right?
Sure. No, and that's the thing. Like the thing about YouTube revenue or merch revenue, let's be clear. I made more. My net worth grew more in 2020 from Tesla stock appreciation than I will probably ever make from YouTube revenue or merch.
All right. And listen, by the way, I don't think there's anything
wrong with it. And I think it's going to make more than
that. I'm just saying that you said you never had brand sponsorships. This is really the ultimate brand sponsorship, right? You making the money, and good for you, by the way. I hope you make more. From Tesla stock, and your channel is about Tesla. So should I accuse you also of, Warren is, specifically talking negative about Lucid because, he's just counting his pennies. I
So
think
let's
it
be
comes
clear.
down.
I am biased in favor of Tesla. I am openly biased in favor of Tesla and Elon Musk. And I have never hid that. I ran an Elon Musk fan club on Facebook before I got banned for other reasons.
Excellent.
I don't even know.
So do I.
We
have something in common. We run Tesla fan clubs.
So I'm a massive Elon, but I actually like Tesla is. I don't believe look, you don't believe you're motivated by money. I don't believe I'm motivated by money. I'm biased in favor of Tesla because I love Tesla and I love Elon. But I'm not, I want to be clear about this. I'm not biased against Lucid because of my interest in Tesla. I was excited about Lucid Motors. September 2020 came along and they did the reveal and it was a total bomb. And I was tremendously disappointed. I'm still excited about Rivian. I was somewhat impressed with the Mercedes-Benz EQS. I'm still waiting to see whether they deliver in volume. I think the Ford F-150 Lightning is a joke. I think the Mach-E is pretty good, but has issues. I think I'm reasonably objective about other EVs.
Have you seen any or driven any of the cars we're talking about right now?
I've seen the Lucid Air at the dealership. I've seen a Mach-E. I watched a professional race car driver drive the Mach-E at Sebring International Raceway. I don't think I've seen any of the other vehicles you mentioned in person. Okay. I've certainly watched a ridiculous number of videos about every vehicle out there. Yeah. So I think you have a different, because you've been doing this longer and because maybe you have more resources and more freedom, maybe you're going out and experiencing. No one's offered, hey, Warren, we want to let you drive a Mach-E for a week. So right? No one's made that offer to me. They may have made it to you or someone else, but no one's offered me, hey, we want you to drive our EV.
And that's kind of the other thing I wanted to ask you. But though I would like to get back to this Expo Motor sponsorship in just a second. But so part of my job is I do go out and I visit the factories. I talk to the teams and the executives. Today I talked to 2 different automaker CEOs myself. I go and check out these cars. I drive them. I look at prototypes. It's my job to basically do this, combine this sort of information and give it to my audience so they can decide on themselves. So, and I got to tell you, there's a lot of conversations that I have behind closed doors that are not very nice to the auto manufacturers, where I think they need to be better. They need to be more like Tesla and less like themselves. So my job is to go out there and experience these things firsthand and understand, is Ionity better than, supercharging network? What are the things that are better? What are the things that are worse? Talk to the consumers. That's why I still actually run Tesla fan clubs, and gladly so, because I want to see why new Tesla owners are very much excited about the brand and what are the issues that they're having, right? Because the issues have kind of shifted over the years. Tesla got better at some and maybe got some of them got away from them. So it is my job to be out there and try to be as unbiased as possible and experience everything that I can so I can be educated about these brands. And, I've gone to China, I've gone to Germany, I've been all over this country, making sure that I possess as much information as possible.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
You brought up my criticism of Lucid Motors, and I had openly admit I'm Lucid's biggest critic as far as I can tell. Do you think they're going to deliver a car this year?
I was actually also a really big fan of them until very recently. And I have to say that there's some conversations I can't even disclose because like I said, I talk to Peter on camera a lot, but I also talk to him off camera a lot. I've seen about 50 to 60 prototypes. I've been to their production facilities and headquarters, and I've talked to people who are engineers and project managers. So with everything that I have seen, things have looked very much on point and from every single level. What I've seen out of their prototypes, very close to production. So I'm a little bit put off and quite honestly concerned. And that's what I actually talked about in my video last week, that they are not in production right now. And not only that, we should have seen we journalists should have already seen the factory. There is no reason for us not to see the factory where they made.
Well, there is a reason.
Well, that's the thing. See, I don't like assuming things. I can only raise a red flag. I can't just assume things. I'm just saying, compared to how other PR departments handle this, we should have already had access to the factory. Same thing with Rivian, by the way, though they have allowed a couple of journalists there. So
well, Rivian has allowed people to drive their cars too.
Not journalists per se, but
no, but they let somebody take the cars to Patagonia. They let Jeff Bezos and whoever drive them at the.
Well, Jeff Bezos owns them, so yeah, so he's kind of an employee. But listen, we're on the same page. It's a concern. Do I think they will deliver this year at least one vehicle to a customer? I'm gonna still go with a very reluctant yes, because if they don't, we're talking about some major problems.
Do you think they can? Do you think they can really deliver a car with 500 miles of range?
Yes, because
How?
I'll tell you why. So I'll tell you why. I can only do it by reference. So first of all, so every time I visited their, headquarters where they, do the R&D with their batteries, they always take me to the batteries that they have designed for race cars, right? And they explain to me that they've been doing it for a while,
wait.
And this is how.
Can we just clarify something?
Yeah.
Because this irks me every time I hear it.
Yeah.
Lucid Motors did not design a battery. They have never designed a battery. They did the battery pack for the race cars, and they do not make the batteries for Lucid Air. They bought the batteries for the race cars from Sony Murata, and they're buying the batteries for the Lucid Air if they ever make one from LG Chem.
So there are different terms, right? So the batteries like these are actually not batteries; they're battery cells. When they're put together in packs, that's what's called a battery. So Lucid does put together their own batteries, but they don't produce their own cells.
Okay. I think that's very confusing for people.
It is very confusing because the battery is not a battery.
No, it's much more common. It's much more common to refer to a battery pack in a car, and to this as a battery.
That's true. So the correct term is these are all cells, right? These are all cells. And when you put it in a pack, then they are batteries. I totally agree. It's confusing, but I just wanted to be clear.
When they put them in a car, it's a battery pack.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's called a battery. No, it's the battery pack is the battery, but the actual batteries are battery cells. So that's what I'm saying.
All right. So anyway, they designed their own. They created the battery pack for the Formula E, and what did that lead you to?
So so they're saying that the lessons that they've learned in the technologies they've been working on is beyond ever even working for Lucid Air in the first place. So here's how I do it as a journalist. So when they claim they're going to go in a quarter mile, that the Lucid Air can do quarter mile in, I think, 9.3 seconds, right? I was there. I was one of the 2 journalists invited to that test, so I can see it with my own eyes, right? So I was there. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw the independent time being 9.3 or something like that, right? So when they tell me something and it happens, and I can validate it myself and talk to other journalists and said, yes, that seems to be correct, I go like, okay, I can trust this brand a little bit more. So obviously we don't know if they're going to go in production or not, or they're going to have 500 plus mile range. But when I talked to Peter and he said, this is going to happen, and it really does happen, next time he tells me this is going to happen, I am more likely to believe him. But do we know for sure? No, of course we don't.
So here's the problem. I want to get back to this point of whether Lucid's going to deliver a vehicle with 500 miles of range. And by the way, I don't think it was 9.3 seconds. I think it was 9.9 second quarter mile or something like that. But we don't know.
You're talking about different 2 versions. So their faster version, their performance version is 9.3 or about that.
Okay, we're going to have to agree to disagree on the number.
We can't disagree,
but
because
regardless,
there's video of that. There's a video of that. So you're going to have to agree with the video.
The vehicle that was driven that you saw, the vehicle that Lucid Motors publicized that it did this quarter mile, it did this track time, we don't know that wasn't a Model S chassis with a shell put on top. We don't know what was underneath the shell. Did you see what was underneath the shell? Did you see the battery pack? Did you see the motors? Did you see the drivetrain? Or did you just see the shell and them saying it was a Lucid Air?
Did I take the car apart and see if there's actually...
Of course you didn't, right?
No, but you can say the same thing about Tesla saying,
I rode in a Plaid Model S. What other chassis was under it?
Did you take it apart?
What other chassis was under it? Who else has a vehicle that could do that?
But what I'm saying is that, so you're telling me that the company that's taking them public has not looked at their technology?
I think they may very well have.
Of
But let
course
me
they
ask you
have.
this.
Wait, but this is important.
Do you remember Theranos?
Wait, but hold on, Warren. If you're accusing of company essentially completely being a fraud,
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, are you saying that they're the company that's taking them public, Churchill,
Churchill Capital,
never looked at their technology and validated that they're actually telling the truth? They just
they
said,
could be in
sure,
on the
we'll do
fraud.
it.
They
How
could be. They could be in on the fraud.
Oh, so the whole thing is a fraud.
Do you remember? Do you remember Theranos?
No.
Okay, so Theranos was a company that was in Silicon Valley that was led by, I can't remember her name, Elizabeth Holmes or something like that. And they had Henry Kissinger or George Shultz on the board. When I watch Lucid Motors, I see all the hallmarks of Theranos. We've got these prestigious people who are backing us up. We've got Alan Mulally, we've got all these people backing us up. This is all great. What I'm saying is, from September to before September 2020, I was like really excited that Lucid Motors was going to come along and they were going to deliver a really cool car. I believed in Rawlinson being this former Tesla engineer. I believed they were going to come out. I was excited to see another EV maker come out with a great EV. And then September 2020, they had the reveal, and it was like, that was all marketing fluff. They had a great PR. They have a great PR department. I will give Lucid Motors this. They have a great PR department. They have a great marketing department. They have the best PDF technology in the world. But
wait, I thought PR department doesn't matter. What happened?
Exactly. That's my point. They have a great PR department, but they can't make a car. They cannot make a car. I do. And here's the thing. You agree with me that the Porsche Taycan is one of the best EVs on the market.
I don't subscribe to the ideology comparing things that are better or worse. Best at what?
At high performance driving.
Of course. Absolutely.
The Porsche Taycan is a great EV. Okay. They barely achieved 200 miles of EPA rated range.
Yeah, but
Lucid is claiming that they're going to have a vehicle that is more luxurious than the Porsche Taycan and that has 2.5 times the range of the Porsche Taycan for about the same amount of money. So do you believe that Lucid has better engineers than Porsche?
So Porsche Taycan, I think they want us to say Taycan, but they even made a video how they want us to say Taycan. But anyway, listen, I almost I actually rather get back to the whole sponsorship thing, because honestly, I don't know what to tell you when you're basically saying the company is a complete fraud. I can only tell you what I saw looks legit. Could I be wrong and you be right? There's a possibility. I don't. But
lots of journalists were fooled by. You should look up Theranos. There's a great. I think there's a video on Netflix.
Granted, I'm not saying I can only tell you what I saw, and could I have been fooled? Could have all the other journalists who've done the same tour been fooled by it? There's a possibility, but honestly, I don't think we need to wait for too long. This is going to be very obvious very soon.
What's the Wunderbox?
Say it again.
The Wunderbox. Lucid is claiming the heart of their technology is the Wunderbox.
It's not the heart of their technology. It's they're trying to say that they've been working on the battery tech for longer than we think.
I mean, isn't the Wunderbox like a black box? We can just say we can do all this stuff because we have this magic technology. And then nobody can check whether the technology is real because nobody gets to actually examine the technology.
Well, you don't really get to examine the Tesla technology either, but we all believe it's there. There's no reason not to believe the technology is there. But listen, I really have nothing to add here except for from what I saw, me, the guy who could be fooled, looked legit. But can we?
You wanted to get back to the sponsorships?
Yeah, because I think it's
what else did you want to say?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to point out that a lot of people think that Xpeng Motors is a competitor to Tesla, and they're not, as far as my channel is concerned, because the only country they are competitor to Tesla is where my videos and your videos, Warren, are banned, because YouTube and Google is banned. So there is no, So what I'm just saying, Xpeng is not a competitor. Now, the only thing that Xpeng has going on here, as you know, they're not on they're publicly traded stock, and I hope you agree with me that Tesla is the leader of that segment of electric car manufacturers. The better Tesla stock performs, the tide rises all the boats, right? NIO, Xpeng Motors, now Churchill, and so forth, right? So
I'm not sure of that, but I don't think you're necessarily wrong. I don't agree that there is an EV manufacturer segment. I mean, BYD makes ICE vehicles and EVs. I think there's a vehicle segment. I think people, and really there's a transportation segment. So you get really deep into that.
But I'm talking about this segment of manufacturers that only manufacture electric cars, like NIO and Xpeng. They only manufacture electric cars. So is Lucid and what Fisker is. I don't know. Yeah, I think Fisker is already public. So all of those stocks are stocks of all electric manufacturers. The better Tesla stock does, the better all of them do, including Xpeng Motors. But Xpeng Motors is just not a competitor to Tesla where my videos are being watched. So if they ever think about paying me money to, what do you call it, shill for them, that would be probably the worst decision and the worst money they've ever spent. But the truth is this: I take money for advertising. And I advertise the brands that I like. For example, I only got Volkswagen sponsorship after I got excited about the car, drove it, bought it, and after that, it made more sense for me to be honest with my audience. So when I advertise ID4, I'm genuine about how much I like it. For example, Toyota cannot sponsor my channel. I'm not excited about Toyota at all. So a lot of times I advertise the products that I personally like or use myself. By the way, including Bosley. Bosley sponsored my channel, and look, I got more hair now. So I'm just saying that it works the other way around, because there's a notion that, of course, Alex, likes ID4. He got paid. No, it happened the other way around, and you can easily tell by simply following my videos. The only thing I got going on as a journalist is my journalistic integrity. My channel is all about unbiased opinion. Whether or not you like it, it's a different thing. If I lose my reputation as being unbiased, I got no channel. I would agree with you. I should be canceled if I'm taking money from brands to sway my opinion one way or another. Absolutely.
I think you have a problem, and I'll tell you what the problem is. My video hit a nerve, and you saw that a lot of people responded in the comments, and you saw, I'm not aware that I have an army of commenters who are going over to your channel. I think that's overestimating my channel, but I'm not the only one who perceived that you were anti-Tesla.
Agreed. Absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
That's not my fault.
No, it's not your fault.
There's something about the way you're making your videos that makes people think you are anti-Tesla.
Yeah.
And that's a problem that maybe you need to address on your channel, rather than somehow thinking that it's my fault that people think you're anti-Tesla.
Warren, first of all, not thinking it's your fault at all. So secondly, you're not the first one who has said that or expressed that opinion, right? So and by the way, I totally understand where you're coming from. I get it, that if you're not as familiar with my content, it definitely can appear that way. But what I do is unbiased opinion. You can find tons of videos where I praise Tesla. And I just told you, I can tell you again, that I think they are the leader. Wouldn't have this job, blah, blah, blah. I've already said that. I said it in my videos a lot. Sandy Munro, by the way, today, a video came out praising Tesla because I had Sandy Munro on. He loves Tesla. We talked about how far Tesla is ahead of everybody else with the battery technology. It was 4680. What a horrible thing to do for an Xpeng shield, right? Just 30 minutes of nothing but praise of Tesla. And so I understand you look at it as a problem. To me, a lot of my viewers believe that it's actually what they watch for is when I am unbiased. I will praise Tesla one day and I will criticize them the next day. And that's what I feel like the balance that I bring, where a lot of YouTubers out there that are just, Tesla oriented, sometimes are not as familiar or sometimes look the other way when Tesla maybe is not best at everything at all times, which is perfectly okay. So another thing that I wanted to say, I had quite a few Tesla people on my channel that believed that I am unbiased, a journalist. And I'll just give you a short list if you don't mind. So there are a lot of Tesla YouTubers from, Zach and Jesse, like Tesla Kim when she was, really into Tesla, when Ben Sullins was into Tesla, Gally of Hyperchange, Eli Burton, Sean Mitchell, and so forth. But there are also other people who've been on my channel that I believe has validated that I am an independent thinker. And I'll start with Sandy Munro. Obviously, I'm a brand ambassador for Los Angeles Auto Show. They would never be associated with someone who would be a shield for a brand. Don't forget that I had a couple of congressmen on my channel. They definitely vet TV shows that they go on. I had CEOs of many
You're saying that you think politicians won't go on a channel that they think is biased?
No, I think they won't go on a channel that's a sellout to a certain brand, and especially the Chinese brand. No, a U.S. congressman would not go on a show that's shilling for a China. I hope we can agree on that.
I think you overestimate my opinion of congressmen.
Okay, could be. But also, don't forget
politicians in general.
Could be. I'll give you that. But I'm just saying, there's some I mean, I had a lot of CEOs of different auto manufacturers, from Rivian and Lucid and Volvo Group and quite a few of the auto manufacturers. They all believe that working with me has been vetted, and I am an independent journalist who is not a sellout. But all you need to see is my videos and my work. You will see, just go back to my ID4 video I released last week, or just watch the video today where Sandy Munro has praised Tesla for 20 minutes straight. So I'm not a very good at being a shill for a Chinese manufacturer, I guess is what I'm saying. But I would be more than happy to share that clause with you if you would like to see. You're an attorney. I'd be more than happy to share that part of the agreement.
I'm not that kind of attorney. And if you ask people who know, I'm not necessarily that good of an attorney.
I don't think it's that lawyery. I think basically, and again, in every agreement, it says that what you're buying is time and space, and in no way my opinion, and I've proven it over and over and over again by either praising Tesla or criticizing some of my sponsors.
Okay, so
it's out there on the open.
I know you had a long day. You were just on with Paul Barron before this, and I think we would both agree Paul Barron is a great channel to watch.
Awesome, love it.
So I don't want to take more of your time, and I have a hard out in about a half hour. So I kind of think we've covered everything I wanted to talk about. I don't necessarily have a lot more to say. And I want to say this. I give you credit. I said this at the beginning. I'll say this at the end. I give you credit for coming on. I was harsh with you. I'm impressed that you came on. I enjoyed the conversation. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we let this go?
Yeah, no, I actually feel the same. And if anything, I can maybe suggest and maybe propose to you and your audience. I think we're talking about here first world topics, right? I think if we disagree on some of it, as long as we're all pushing the electrification of transportation, I think we're all still on the same team. And if in the future, you or your audience disagrees with me or believes that I'm doing something that immoral or unethical and so forth, I suggest that maybe instead of calling me an idiot or dumb, and I also had some racist comments also submitted on my channel as a result of that video. Maybe instead of sort of
I don't understand. Aren't you white?
Well, I'm also an immigrant. There were some and also there were some anti-Asian comments from your audience that essentially racist. So instead of maybe kind of going into personal attacks and insults, and some of your audience maybe went into the racial.
Just so you know, I get all kinds of anti-China comments on my videos.
Well, I remove them. So whenever somebody,
I do too.
Today, I got a couple of comments about Sandy that were basically personal attacks. I removed them.
Yeah, I get like criticism of Tesla and the CCP and all this other stuff. I get those comments too. I didn't drive those comments. I think you're missing my point.
I think you're missing my point. I'm just saying, when somebody who I talk about on my channel is personally attacked in the comment section, I always remove those comments, and there's no hate allowed on my channel. I'm just saying that, maybe a conversation like we had today is maybe a better way of sort of either resolving differences or agreeing to disagree. Personal attacks, let's bring this guy down, he's a shill, he's an idiot. I feel like that's probably not the best way to kind of, for us to move our boat, because we're in the same boat, whether we like it or not, of electrification, moving it forward, rather than this inner fighting, where,
but here's the problem. Hater. Here's the problem. First of all, you're not the first person I made a video like that about. And E for idiot was meant to be, I realized it didn't feel good, but it was meant to be funny. And you know, because
Okay.
I is not, the letter I at the beginning of idiot is not the same as the letter E. It was meant to be.
Yeah.
I realize it's not nice, but it was meant to be funny. But I have made videos like that before. If I think someone is being unfairly negative towards Tesla, then I will make a video taking them apart.
But do you
And
think
if I
that,
make a video that you think is unfair to Xpeng or Volkswagen or somebody else, and you want to make a video taking me apart, then take me apart.
but that's not what I'm about. I'm actually, when I disagree with someone, I find an opportunity to, one, have a conversation, and two, hopefully learn either something new or change my opinion. But I always find a way to have it as a collaboration rather than personal attack or name calling. I just feel like it's just a better way to go about things.
Okay. I mean, I don't think I did anything wrong. I think I hit a nerve that a
You
lot
did
of
not
people
hit
are
a
feeling the
nerve.
same way.
Trust me, you're not the first one who've
No,
said
I hit a
any
nerve
of
with the
these things.
audience.
Oh yeah, with your audience, yeah, absolutely. Like I definitely. But at the same time, wouldn't you rather hit a nerve of being more sort of accepting of other people's opinions rather than let's hate this guy and call him names? And
Not if I think they're being misleading. No.
but as you can see, your thoughts, you could have had, at least reach out to me, behind the scenes and said, Alex, I'm making a video about this. I'm going to call you an idiot and a dumbass. But why don't you tell me why you've said all these things about Tesla? And as you can probably see, I hope I showed you that a lot of these things is just either a different perspective or, different knowledge that I had with just working with these brands. And some of them is just, we have different opinions, and that's okay.
I think what I need to do is I need to watch this video again, because right now I don't feel that way. But maybe if I watch the video again in a more relaxed manner, maybe I'll feel closer to what you're suggesting.
Well, okay, but without even watching the video, do you agree that conversation is better than name calling?
Well, I think that sometimes it's fun. It's funny it's interesting for my channel to do something that's funny. And if you took it,
just funny, it was also,
it was harsh. But look,
well, not harsh. It's just probably a wrong way of maybe a wrong way of delivering information to your audience, where they could have actually seen the other perspective rather than look how much hate it generated. Just look at the comments.
No. The video did not generate hate. The video connected a nerve, connected with people who already felt that way about what you're doing on your channel. And
I think you should review the comments, and I can definitely tell you what I've read on my channel, where your followers have followed your advice. They went on my channel, and I probably removed 200 or 300 comments that were just hateful comments, name calling. Just like I said, some of them were racist. It's just kind of full of hate. But I can find them even now in the comment section of the original video. I'm just saying, maybe a conversation is better than hate. I hope we can agree on that.
I think that conversations have their place. And I think there are times, and I'm just going to say this to you. I'm going to suggest that you review the content of your videos and you think about whether your tone towards Tesla has been overly negative recently. That's a choice you got to make. I mean, I have people telling me you had some sort of service problem with your Model S and it made you angry about Tesla. I have no idea what really happened. I'm telling you, I watched your video. And when I watched your video, I caught a very, very harsh negative tone about Tesla. And I disagreed with it strongly. And I put it in a video. And I did it in a way that was effective, that a lot of people watched and a lot of people agreed with. And I don't feel bad about that at all. I'm happy to engage in this conversation with you. And look, I'm very thick-skinned. If you make a video, what is it? Thunderfoot made a video trashing me. And honestly, it was pretty funny. And I'm very thick-skinned. I thought it was hilarious. And I got a ridiculous volume of comments from Thunderfoot trashing me. Right. And I thought it was, I mean, some of them went over the top and I deleted them. Some of them were actually pretty funny. So I don't take offense when somebody picks on me like that.
Right. Well, I didn't take offense. I didn't, in fact, take offense to the video. I'm suggesting there was maybe a better way to go about it. But if I ever disagree with you, Warren, and I want to communicate it to my audience, I would never make a video calling you names. I would invite you to my channel and give you a forum like you did today with me. That would be my approach.
Okay. I'd be happy to come on your channel if you wanted to have me on your channel. If you disagree with something I say in a video and you want to make fun of me in a video, I'll probably think it's funny.
I would not be doing that. I would not be
I'm inviting
calling
you to.
names. I mean, that's not what I'm about.
Okay. Okay, but I think that's partly we have different channels with different perspectives. But anyway,
Agreed.
We've been gone for over an hour and a half. I know you did something before this. I got something to do.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm ready to wrap it up unless there's something else you wanted to say.
No, I just want to say I enjoyed this greatly. It is as much fun as I thought it would be. I hope you feel the same.
Yes, I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you for coming on my channel.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.